Hello geeks, welcome to Developers and Coders Club NIT Agatala. In this video, we are going to discuss the problem spreading charges of starter 77. I assume that you have already read the problem statement and we will directly jump to the explanation. So in this problem, we will be given a string that will contain three characters plus, minus and 0, and we are said that there can be alterations possible in the string if there is any neutral charge present. So if there like in this case there is a neutral charge that is 0 present in this string, and it will be changed based on the presence of its neighborhood charge, that is a negative sign here. So after a possible alteration, this string will finally look like plus, minus, minus, and this will be the final string. There won't be any further alteration or changes because there are any 0 or neutral charge in this string. So to make this even more clear, let's take an example case like plus 0 0 plus minus and 0. So what will happen in this case is this plus will affect this neutral charge. Similarly, this neutral charge will be influenced by this plus charge, and this negative will influence this neutral charge. So after few alterations and 1 second, this string will look like plus plus 0 plus plus minus and minus. And again, this neutral charge is present in between two positive charges, and after one more alteration, this string will look like 4 plus charges and 2 negative charges. So this will be our final string. So in this question, we are asked to return the number of neutral charges or zeros in the string after infinite time. Infinite time means that the final string after doing all the possible alterations and changes. We can say that if we leave this string for infinite time, there won't be any further alterations possible. So in this case, our answer will be 0, as there are not any neutral charges or 0 in the final string left out. So moving ahead and taking one more example to make it more clear. Suppose in this case we are given a string of plus 0 0 0 minus 0 0 plus. So what will happen is this will influence this neutral charge, and this negative charge will affect these two neutral charges, and this positive charge will affect this neutral charge. And after these alterations, this string will look like 3 negative charges and 2 positive charges. Okay, so after 1 second, this string will look like this, but there is one more neutral charge, and the problem here is it is in the neighborhood of 2 negative charges. So in this case, the problem statement says that this will only be our final string and there won't be any further alterations, because this neutral charge is in the neighborhood of two opposite charges. And since there are no further alterations, this is the string that we will get after infinite time, and the number of neutral or 0 is in this string is 1. So in this case, our answer will be 1. So this is basically the question, and we will try to reach out to the solution or the logic of this problem with the given test cases. The first test case is where string is given 2 zeros. So with very basic observation, we can say that if there is no plus or negative sign, we can say that answer will be equal to n, because no matter for how long we will leave the string, there won't be any alterations because there are not any charges in their neighborhood. So the answer will always be equal to the size of the string. The second test case given is minus plus 0, and in this case again this positive is influence this neutral charge, and this will turn out into a minus plus plus, and again the answer will be 0 because there are not any neutral charge left after infinite time. Moving ahead with the third test case, that was 0 0 plus minus 0 0. What will happen in this case is this plus will influence this 0, this minus will influence this 0, and in the next step there will be a negative charge here that will influence this 0, and there will be a positive charge here that will influence this 0. So eventually we will be left with no neutral charge after infinite time, and again the answer will be 0. And talking about the final test case, we have a string 0 minus 0 plus 3 times 0 and minus. So what will happen here is this negative charge will influence this neutral charge, but it won't have any influence on this neutral charge because there is a positive charge uh, in the neighborhood. So but this positive charge will definitely influence this neutral charge, and this negative will definitely influence this neutral charge. So what will this string look like after 1 second? There will be a negative charge, another negative charge, a neutral charge, a positive charge, a positive charge, another neutral charge, and two negative charges. So here we are left with two neutral charges, but these two are in the neighborhood of two opposite charges, so there won't be any further alterations, and we can consider this string as our final string after infinite time. And this case our answer will be 2, as we are left with two neutral charges after infinite time. So we have discussed all the possible test cases, and this question is purely based on one's observation. So we will try to gather everything that we have observed till now. So I will list down all the observation. The first observation is, if there is no there won't be if there is no plus or minus, the answer will be directly equal to n, that is size of the string. And if all the negative charges are in the neighborhood of two similar charges, there can be negative as well, it need not only be positive. In this case the answer will be 0. In this case the answer will be 0, because this positive will eventually change every neutral charge into a positive, and this negative will eventually change every neutral charge into a negative. So what we can say is, to have a neutral charge left after infinite time in the string, we must have the neutral charges in between two opposite charges. Suppose they are neutral charges. So in these two cases we can get some answer that will not be equal to 0, that may not be equal to 0. So we'll discuss this case. Suppose the given string to us is plus plus 0 plus 4 times 0 and minus. So here this part of string is not useful to us because it will eventually turn into all plus, but here we have this part of string where we have all the negative charges in between two opposite charges. We can get some neutral charges left after infinitum. There are chances, so we will only evaluate this part of the string and we will not be considering this part of the string. So what will happen here is, this positive will change this neutral into a positive charge, this negative will change at the same time this neutral into a negative charge, and this positive will change this neutral into a negative, and this negative will change this neutral into a negative. So we will be left with 3 positive charges and 3 negative charges, and in this case also our answer will be 0, as there are no neutral elements after infinite time. But at the same time, let's take another example where we have plus plus 0 0 plus 3 times 0 and minus. Again this part of string is not useful to us because there are only one type of charges, there isn't any negative charge, and the neutral elements are between two positive charges only. But we'll surely evaluate this part of string where the neutral charges are in between two opposite charges. So let's take this, and this positive will change this neutral into a positive, and this negative will change this neutral into a negative, and our string will look like this. So there won't be any further changes to this string because this neutral charge is in the neighborhood of two opposite charges, and in this case we have got our answer 1. And so what we can assume is between two opposite charges, if our zero count is even, like in this case we had four zeros in between two opposite charges. So if our zero count is even, our answer will be 0, and if it is odd, our answer will be 1, like we have got in this test case. So this is our observation that we have made from this question, and now we will look to implement this observation into the problem. So I will suggest you to implement it by yourself, and I'll just give you a glimpse of my code, that how I have implemented it. Just to give you a basic explanation of my code, I'll take another test case, that is plus plus 0 0 minus plus. So I know that this part of string is only useful to me, so I only have to check the count of zeros in this part of the string. So for that we need to run a loop from 0 to n minus 1, and what we will do is we will check if we have two consecutive elements plus or 0. Like here we have a plus and the very next element is 0, like we have plus at the ith index and we have a 0 at the I plus 1th index. Then we will continue the further iteration from I plus 1 to n minus 1 inside this if statement, and we will check if there is a positive another positive charge. Like suppose we got one positive, a 0, and the next charge was positive, then we need not consider this 0 count and we will simply break out of the loop iteration. But if we get negative charge after this plus and 0, like in this case we will check the 0 count, that is ZC. So this is the basic implementation of the code, and I have explained it for the plus and 0 pair. We need to check minus and 0 pair as well, and to give you more clarity I will take you to my code. So this is the code where I have taken the length of the string and the string itself. First I have checked that if the string contains only zeros, then the answer will be directly n, but if not so, here I have iterated the loop first from 0 to n minus 1, and I have checked that if there is a plus and 0, I'll iterate the further loop in the if statement only, and if we get a positive charge after the positive charge itself, that will be of no use and we will simply break out of it. But if we get a negative charge after a positive and a neutral, so we'll check the 0 count of this loop, and if the 0 count is odd, we will simply increase the answer by 1 and we'll just reset the 0 count and break out of this iteration to continue the main iteration. And we'll check for negative and 0 as well. Yeah, you can see I have commented out some cout statements because I had to debug while solving it in the contest. So I will give this code in the description as well. You can check it out there. I hope uh, all your doubts got cleared and you have understood this question. Till then, happy coding.